Don, can I ask you straight up? Obviously, you've got some good players coming back, Jenkins, Betts and McGovern back into the team. No Thompson, Lever, Sloan and Brad Crouch, which means they'll go possibly to round one without any pre-season games. How much of a concern is that? And where's that leave that quartet?
Well, clearly it leaves them without a game through JLT. We knew that with Rory with his injury, and he was back, running today. So still expectation is he'll be fine for round one, and then it really will become an assessment, if you like, as to how the rest of those guys have gone through pre-season and the totality of their pre-season as to how many we may wish to carry into round one. The expectation is those guys will be there or thereabouts for round one at this point, but that'll be a match committee decision as to how we want to structure up for round one.
Is it fair to say you couldn't risk 4 players in round one without any pre-season games under their belt?
Oh, look, that's something we would have to consider, but I think the reality would be we would back in the guys who have done the work and who are prepared, and in respect to them, are now at a level performing well through JLT and taking the opportunities that present them. So that'll just be a weighing up of the pros and cons of either of those two.
How frustrating that those guys haven't played a game for you, trying to get your best side in the park, I guess, for round one?
Oh no, that's the build. As I said, our build's always been around playing round one. Ideal world, they play some games, but that's not what's presented, so we'll deal with that, and those guys will be, as I said, there or thereabouts. But it's probably more the focus now is to make sure they're ready to play football for the whole season as well. There's often a fascination with round one, being everyone sort of sets the bar at round one. We're taking a big picture view on that and making sure that we want our best players available for long periods of time throughout the season. So if it means it's a delayed start for some of those guys and they're not quite ready to go, or they need some runs in the sandful, we'll take that approach.
Was Lever close?
Yeah, he was close. He probably just didn't get through the training they wanted to play this week. I was really keen for him to play this week. I thought it was going to be ideal for him in terms of his prep. But again, taking a no risk policy, you don't want to rush a guy out there for the sake of trying to get him ready, and then he gets another setback and we don't see him until maybe round 5 or 6. So we just got to be smart.
And Don, you mentioned Sloan out there on the track. Obviously not a muscle injury or anything like that, but how did he look? He's obviously well on track.
Yeah, look, he's back running today, which is great. He's been like a bit of a caged animal, to be honest, for the last 2 weeks. He loves his footy and he loves being out there with the boys. So it was good to see him back out there running today, and he'll build now for the next couple of weeks. Have a good solid sessions, probably day on day off, and he's a true pro, so he'll give himself every chance.
Does he need to wear protective headgear when he comes back?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Are there any SANFL trial games? Can they play in any of them before you guys start?
Well, next weekend's the general bye for everyone, so we've got a SANFL trial game this weekend. So we've got a number of guys, on a positive note, we've got a number of guys coming back this week to have their first run. So Keith and Cheney and Signorello will play some minutes in the SANFL trial, and the following weekend there's no game. So that's just the AFL, the structure of the weekend off before the start of the season.
And McGovern, I think his first pre-season game, so great to have him back. He's had some issues with his body in the past. Yeah, well,
he played a fair chunk of the JLT 1 against Richmond. Got injured, I think, just before half time. So yeah, and that was just a minor tweak from his knee, and he's trained on really well this week, so he's ready to go. And again, won't do him any harm. He's had a really good solid pre-season, so he just had a minor setback, and look forward to what he can do on Saturday.
Is this pretty much a full dress rehearsal, or as close, do you think, the way you'll structure up play on the weekend? Yeah,
look, it generally tends to be. We're mindful of making sure that our players are best prepared for round one, which means we need to get maximum minutes into them. We don't want to get to round one and find that the game's just a little bit longer. I mean, the first 2 weeks you're sort of playing these abbreviated quarters, so it's important our players get the experience of staying on ground longer, 90 cap rotation. So again, we balance it out though with making sure that we're giving opportunity for guys. We're still working on the flexibility, which I've spoken about, and giving our side the best chance to play the way we want to play, but still with that real clear eye on round one.
You expect Eddie and Josh to play maximum minutes then as well?
Yeah, look, that's our expectation, is we'll get guys ready for round one, and that means they need to be on ground playing through that period whereby it's always the case. Round one, you look around and there's guys cramping. We'd like to push our guys to the point where they're ready to go round one, and that means being out there and playing longer minutes.
What is the danger then if let's say a Sloan or a Thompson does play round one? What is the danger in your eyes of them having not played a pre-season game?
Well, it's less about that. It's probably more about the load or impact it has on others. Given the cap rotation, you've got to be mindful that the load will be placed somewhere else. In the case of the two guys you mentioned, we've got two seasoned players who've had, 15, well, in Tomo's case, 15 pre-seasons, Sloanie's case, nearly 10. So they've got a level of durability and built-in, fitness which allows them to fall back on a higher base. So, with those two guys, it's slightly different to, say, a younger player who maybe doesn't have that base. Puts them in a better spot.
What would the danger be for a younger player?
Well, it's just a matter of whether they can sustain their effort. And you've got to remember, there's a big difference between picking people to play and picking them to perform. And so when we assess the side before round one, it's going to be who will be the best 22 to perform to get a result we want against GWS. And sometimes that'll be backing in some guys who may not have had the ideal prep. Other times it'll be, no, let's give the opportunity to the maybe younger player or the guy who's come on, who's had a really solid pre-season, played his JLT and has actually got really good form and really good confidence. And as I said, it's a bit about looking at both sides. It's not purely round one going, we need everyone out there round one. It's about looking at the big picture, which is going to be what does it look like for us come round 2, 3, 4, 5 and beyond.
Is Andy Otten making a big case to play in round one?
Yeah, look, he's been fantastic. Yeah, he's a guy who has, as I said, last week after the game, he's a guy who's really put the shoulder to the wheel this year. His history is well documented. He's a smart footballer. He understands how we want to play, and he got good experience of that last year. So for him, he's in a really good spot, and his performance is showing it. So the reality this time of year, you control what you control, and he's playing and putting his name forward by playing good footy and training well and giving a lot of input as well in terms of our week-to-week feedback.
You've been surprised at how well he has played. I know he played a full season of Sandford last year, but you must be very happy with just the way how well he's played.
Oh, it's been great. Now, look, I saw a lot out of Andy last year in the SANFL, which was very good. Unfortunately, the opportunity didn't present. And his attitude was fantastic in that space because it's easy for him to get disheartened, but he kept his form right up till the end and was probably a decision or two away from playing even in the finals based on some guys who were a bit sore as we head into the finals. So great attitude. He's approached his pre-season really professionally and clearly has got a history of being able to play and play well at the level. So all credit to him. He's given himself every chance.
Dylan, we saw that bizarre incident on the weekend where the ball hit Dean in the back, and obviously you made a couple of comments. The AFL, it seems, is very open to changing that rule. Common sense, you think, prevailing? Oh,
I think so. I mean, for me, it was sort of a bit of a, if you like, as I said, a weird one in the rule that you've got a situation where someone is not actually contesting the ruck's being penalised. So I think common sense prevails. And I don't think anyone wants to see a situation where there's a boundary throw-in and someone accidentally contacts the ball and is being free kicked again. So, yeah, that's good from the AFL to be flexible in terms of adapting to the change of rule as needed to, as you say, apply common sense.
And it sounds like they're going to ban the TAC Cup, the under-18s, the centre bounce at the start of quarters.
Oh, the bounce?
The bounce, yeah. Have you got a view on that? Would you rather see it just thrown up all the time, or you like the bounce? I
like the bounce. I understand where the umpires are coming from, and our game's unique in that it's probably the only game in the world whereby the umpires need a sort of a technical competence, whether it's a boundary throw-in or a bounce, to be able to officiate. So I actually threw one up the other day. I wonder whether we just get guys who actually do the bounce and the rest of them do the umpiring, and we end up with professional bouncers. Maybe that's got some interest for someone who can come in and just bounce the ball. But I like the bounce, but again, I'll defer to the AFL and their recommendation as to what's best for their umpires and B for the look of the game.
So you're serious about that? You like the bounce that much that you consider that situation?
Oh, I think if you had someone who could bounce the ball consistently in the same height, maybe it's worth considering.
Do you look at your third quarter against the Cats, do you look at that and say the players, that's sort of your minimum level of output and expectation for what you need from your last game?
Oh, look, we reviewed the game and there were some things throughout the whole game, not just the third quarter, that we were really happy with in terms of how we played. And as I said all along, we want to play really well balanced in all the phases. In the third quarter, there was some really good ball movement. It started off the back of winning some contests and then we're able to basically control the ball and own the game. So that's a clearer picture for the players, and we're building pictures with our players all the time, whether it be through training and drills or whether it be through games, and that was just a good example and reminder to our group that when we play the way that we want to play, we can play some good powerful footy, and we aim to do that for longer on Sunday and then on Saturday and into the season.